Assalamu alaikum, dear all. We're still in the same lesson in solving trigonometric equations. Now we are in problem number 4, page 725. It says solve the quadratic equation containing trigonometric function. It says solve 2 cosine square x, 2 cosine square x plus cosine x plus cosine x minus 1 is equal to 0. Solve this equation. This equation takes the form of the quadratic equation. Now we can do substitution. We can replace cosine x to by. We can replace cosine x to by. Let's do this here. Let's replace each cosine x to by. So 2y and square plus y minus 1 equals 0. Now let's factor this expression. This one will be, you can use the calculator. 2, 1, negative 1 equals a half. It means 2y minus 1 and y plus 1 and y plus 1. So 2y minus 1 equals 0 or y plus 1 equals 0. 2y minus 1 equals 0. It means 2y equals 1, then y equals 1 over 2. We are going to complete this from this part, from here, from this step. Here y plus 1 equals 0, so y equals negative 1. Now, do the substitution again. Replace again hy to be cosine x. So cosine x equals negative 1 and cosine x equals 1 over 2. Given here we have given quadrant, given interval for x. For this one, given x is more than or equal 0, less than 2y. So only the solution in the 4 quadrants. So cosine x equals negative 1. How to get this one? We can use the calculator, or if you can remember, I said to get sine, cosine, and tan to the quadrant angles, use the unit circle. This point is 1 and 0. This point is negative 1 and 0. This point 0 and 1. This point 0 and negative 1. Now 1 and 0, negative 1 and 0. This point is cosine and sine. Cosine 0, sine 0. He 0, he pi over 2. He 3 pi over 2. Now I'm saying cosine, which is the first coordinate, equals negative 1. Cosine negative 1, so the angle is pi. Cosine x equals negative 1, so x equals pi. So x here equals pi, which is 180. What about the second part? Cosine x equals half. Now, this cosine is positive. So x belongs to which quadrant? A, S, T, C. A and C, cosine positive, first and fourth. Cosine positive, first quadrant and fourth quadrant. First quadrant and fourth quadrant. First quadrant, the angle stayed the same theta. In the fourth quadrant, the angle is 360 minus theta, or x. What's x? Shift to cosine in half, the angle would be 30. The reference angle here, 30. So 30 in the first quadrant stayed the same 30, which is pi over 6. And here 360 minus 30 equals 330, which is 11 pi over 6. So the solution for this equation, we have here 3 solutions. The solution pi over 6 and 11 pi. No, sorry, this is 5 pi over 3. This is 5 pi. Oh, sorry, this is 60. The angle here is 60. Shift to cosine half. The angle is 60. I thought it's sine. So the angle is pi over 3. And this one will be 5 pi over 3. This is 300. So 5 pi over 3. So the solution will be pi over 3. Pi over 3. And this one is 5 pi over 3. So the solution will be 5 pi over 3 and pi over 3. This is the solution for this equation. This is the solution for this equation. Now it's your turn. Now it's your turn. On your own, solve the equation 2 sine square x minus 3 sine x minus 3 sine x plus 1 equals 0, given an interval for x from 0 up to 2 pi. On your own, send your answers on the WhatsApp group. Now, we're gonna move to the next problem, problem number 5. Problem number 5. It says solve the quadratic equation we have here for sine x minus 1 equals 0, x more than or equal 0 less than 2 pi. For sine square. Move -1 to the right side. So for sine square x equal positive 1, divide each side by 4. So sine square x equals 1 over 4. Now take the square root. So sine x equals 1 over 4 in a square root, positive or negative, which is positive or negative 1 over 2. Sine x equal positive or negative 1 over 2. Here the question here. In which quadrant the angle x lies in? The angle x or the x lies in each quadrant of the 4 quadrants. Why? Because I'm saying sine positive and sine negative. Sine positive and sine negative. Sine positive first, second. Sine negative third, fourth. So the angle here belongs to each quadrant. First quadrant, second quadrant, third quadrant, and the fourth quadrant. The angle belongs to each quadrant of the 4 quadrants. How to get x itself? Sine inverse half, the angle is 30. 30, it means pi over 6. So the angle here, 30. The angle here, 180 minus 30. Here, 180 plus 30. 360 minus 30. The angle 30, خلاص, that's pi over 6. Here, 180 minus 30, 150, 5 pi over 6. The angle 180 plus 30, 210, 7 pi over 6. And 360 minus 30, 330, 11 pi over 6. Now it's your turn. Solve on your own. Solve for cosine square x minus 3 equals 0, x more than or equal 0 less than 2 pi. On your own, send your answers on the WhatsApp group.